signed by 10,000 persons or more listed on the business paper. I call the member for Swansea.
Member for the entrance, Speaker. Speaker, in May last year, the Minister for Primary Industries, the Deputy Leader of the National Party, announced the start of the Commercial Fisheries Business Adjustment Program. He said at that time, and I quote, that the government would look after those fishers who want to stay in the industry and support those who wish to exit, end quote. This petition that we're debating today, carrying the signatures of over 10,000 citizens of this state, is proof positive that it isn't the case. The petition, and I'll read it, brings to the attention of the House that it is our will that you have regard for the security of the jobs of the commercial fishing industry in New South Wales and its importance to the seafood supply of citizens in Australia who are seafood consumers and rely on our industry for fresh seafood. We, the undersigned petitioners, therefore ask the Legislative Assembly to pause the New South Wales DPI Fisheries Business Structural Adjustment Program to re-evaluate the activating of latent effort by equal activation of linkage options, restore the catch history of each and every commercial fisher, and recognise that their catch history in each region and each fishery is integral to the multi-endorsed component of the New South Wales fisheries and therefore its sustainability. Evaluate the removal of latent effort as a separate component of business buyout and consult with every fishery for the future direction of essential management region by region. Speaker, there are currently only about 1,000 commercial fishers operating across the coast of New South Wales. Most are small family operated businesses. Many have operated for a number of generations, and I want to take the opportunity to recognise the fishing families that have attended here today. Well done to all of you indeed. The effort you put in, such a small industry generating such a number of signatures on a petition, is a credit to you. I want to particularly note Mary Howard in the audience here, coordinator of the Wild Caught Coalition. From my area, Alan and Sue Reid, a fishing family well known on the Central Coast and on Tuggerah Lakes. I really want to acknowledge the effort you've put in to get us to this point today. Speaker, the Coalition Government's Business Adjustment Program continues the process begun by the Greiner Government in '94 with the Fisheries Management Act, which introduced a share market in fishing entitlements. In 2007, fishers were granted an equal number of shares which gave them a simple right to harvest a particular type of fish in a particular way. The adjustment program seeks to replace this simple arrangement by linking those shares to quotas. The new system will commence 1st July this year. Now, the main problem created by this government has been the way the quotas have been linked to the shares held by the active fishers. At present, fishers are required to report to the government the catch they harvest and the days they work. This catch and effort history of active fishers has simply been divided amongst all those who hold fishing shares, including inactive fishers. That is, fishers who haven't even done any work using those shares in the last 5 years. In doing so, the catch history of active fishers has been diluted, and if the active fisher wants to continue to fish at their present level, they have to buy extra shares to do that. That's what fishermen say. That's what fishermen mean when they say to this government they're being asked to buy their job back.
I just want to fish.
For example, estuary general fishers in my area are currently entitled to trap crabs, can do so without limit. As of July, they'll be limited to 673.8 kilograms per year unless they purchase more shares. What does it mean in practice? Well, Alan trapped 1,875 crabs last year. Unless he purchases more shares, he won't be able to do that again next year. Likewise, Alan meshed for fish on Tuggerah Lake 120 days last year. He was entitled to do 365. Next year he'll be limited to 93 unless he purchases extra shares. The adjustment program, it's analogous to the government confiscating business goodwill and then asking the business to buy it back. It's been a miserable and stressful process for these families. The support offered by the Coalition is no support at all. Alan received a letter from the government the other week offering him a loan, Speaker, of $80,000 which he could repay over 10 years and give the government give the government $10,000 extra for the benefit of buying his own business back. It's an absolute disgrace.
It's an absolute mess. It's a dog's breakfast.
These men and women, these families have no economic security, generally outside of their ability to fish. We consume and import more than 80% of our fish in this state from overseas. The government should be supporting them, it should heed the petitioners and put a stop to this program which is damaging so many fishing lives in this state.
Call the member for Clarence.
Speaker. Thank you, Mr Speaker. And look, I do acknowledge all the fishers in the gallery and all those fishers and those people that have signed the petition. I acknowledge the work that you do, the livelihood that you make out of fishing. It's a tough industry, and it's certainly welcomed by the citizens of New South Wales. Clearly not enough, because we only eat 15% of the seafood that you catch. The other 85% is imported. And so you've got more than one, just more than the government that's on your back. You know, I understand that. You've got God and nature, and you've got, you know, the elements, and you've got the market, so you've got a lot of things against you. But we don't want the government to be against you. And the last thing we want in this place is to politicise your jobs, and that's not what we're trying to do. Because quite frankly, with the likes of fishing ministers like Eddie O'Bee and Ian McDonald, you can think about why we're in this mess. So please don't politicise the mess that you put us in. Please don't politicise it, because we're talking about fishermen's lives. I have lived in Maclean on the Clarence estuary for 35 years. I understand the fishing industry. I understand the complexities.
Member for Clarence, Member for Clarence. I'd ask the members on the opposition benches to please allow the member to be heard in silence, as the government benches did for the opposition speakers.
There are 1,000 fishing industries, fishing businesses, fishers in the state. You're right on that, the member for interest. They all compete against each other. They all use different techniques. They are multi-endorsed. It's a complex issue. Otherwise, it would have been fixed a long time ago. We have put $16 million on the table, $16 million to subsidise the shares that you have to buy. But the $16 million, is a subsidy to buy the shares back from the government. That's going to be directly injected into the fishers industry, not into compliance, not into administration, but directly into the fishing industry. And as far as some bipartisan attitude towards this, there was the General Purpose Standing Committee number 5 reviewed the restructure. That committee included Labor's Shadow Minister, the Honourable Mick Beach, and they wrote to Fishers saying, "In our view, the business adjustment program should proceed as swiftly as possible, subject to a small number of immediate modifications." That includes your Labor spokesman for fishing. And that's exactly, and we will do that, but you cannot fix something that is so complex just like the snap of your fingers. It will take a number of iterations. And we do ask the fishers to have some faith and some trust in government. We know you don't, and we know you don't have trust and faith in the fisheries officers that you have to deal with. I understand that. I talk to my fishers on a regular basis. I understand the issue that there won't be enough shares, they'll be too expensive. I understand the issue of we won't have enough days to catch our quota, and so does the Minister, And will we sort it out with the first iteration with the share subsidy trading? We may not. But we will have a chance to have a look at the winners and the losers, and we'll work out where we need to tweak and how we need to tweak it. Because in the past, what you've been left with is a legacy of the Eddie O'Bees and the Ian McDonalds, and they can do that. But when we say it on this side, this is the sort of attitude that we get back from them. They want to play politics with your lives and your livelihoods. But this side of the house, we're the ones that put $16 million into the restructure. We put the $16 million. Where did you put your money when you had a chance to fix it? You didn't fix it, you stuffed it. And that's why they're here day in, day out. That's why they're knocking on my door, for that very, very reason. And the fact Of course it's history. That's why it's a mess, because of the history that you applied to their industry. Previous New South Wales governments have recognised this need for sustainable management, but they did nothing to address the problem. Nothing to address the problem. And you made it worse. You've made it worse for these people, which is why they're here. We will address the problem. We are the powerhouse of the nation, and we won't let the fishermen behind. We will take them with us. They need to have faith in what this government is doing.
Speaker. Thank you, Mr.
I haven't called you yet, member for Maitland.
I was saying thank you in anticipation, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Maitland.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker, and I gladly rise to support the petition which was tabled by my colleague, the member for the Entrance, and to support these people and the many other people in the fishing industry across New South Wales. And I have to start by saying it's an absolute disgrace that National Party members can come in here and start talking about politicising this industry when you come out with that rubbish across here. So, Mr. Speaker, this is a disgrace. And this is a wriggle and squirm because there's other members in this place right now, Mr. Speaker, who their local constituents have gone to speak to them about this issue and refused to meet with them. Refused to meet with them. And you know what? The only way that those people got a meeting with the member for Mile Lakes was they reminded him of the very slim margin of his electorate, and that he lost 22% last election, and he's going to lose even more on the back of this issue, and that is a disgrace. And you've had 10,000 people sign this petition. Now, I know some of those members, those fishers are here in the chamber today, and I congratulate them on the hard work in fighting against the Commercial Fisheries Business Adjustment Program, the BAP, which they should rightly name the BYOJ, buy your own job. That's what they should be calling this. What kind of government that prides itself on being a friend of small business does this? Well, it's the same government, the same Nationals that left down the greyhounds. It's the same ones that don't care about painters, don't care about hairdressers, don't care about taxi drivers. They think it's okay in a disrupted business environment that we're in New South Wales to just let people fight it out. Generations of families, 5 generations of families, these businesses, and to talk about the minister talked about the petition in that disgusting and appalling response where he talked about the small text on the petition. This is the tiny amount of information in a tablet that your minister is giving these people for their whole life, and that package that's just come out again is yet another iteration of this botched, appalling policy. And if you guys think, if there's Mr. Speaker, if these people here think that they have any right to represent small business in country areas, they should be ashamed of themselves. You've got co-ops that bring in $10 million to coastal villages. The multiplier effect of that alone is something in the vicinity of $50 million, and you're going to rip it out. You're going to rip it out of cafes, of service stations, of mechanics, of everyone in those small communities, tourism operators, our fine Australian tourism and our fine Australian cooking industries rely on this industry, and you are a disgrace.
Before I call the member for Tweed, ask the gallery that please refrain from applause. And the member for Maitland, that was quite unparliamentary in how you tabled those documents, and I'd ask you not to behave like that again. I know debates get quite emotional and excited in this place, but there is no need to depart from showing a bit of decorum towards the officers of this building.
And I apologise, Mr Acting Speaker, if you took that in that way. It's just very hard in the chamber to make myself heard because every time I do speak, this pack of dog comes down and it goes at me.
Well, I would just remind the members on the opposition side that they get as good as they give, and I know my eyes are on the member for Cogger and the member for Fairfield, as particularly disregarding my last warning. Well, you can take your offence outside if you want to argue with me. Call the Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr Speaker, I must say on a point of order that while it is important for our democracy that debate is robust, there is no excuse for a member of this House to be throwing documents across
I've already
across the table like that.
It is inexcusable
and highly regrettable.
I made that point. I call the member for Tweed.
Thank you, Mr Temporary Speaker. In terms of responding to the debate, I would like to acknowledge the people in the gallery and all those people that signed the petition. I have met with my fishermen on a number of times before. Many of them, if I could have a chance before you rudely interrupt, Maitland, the fact that you're so rude. Mr Temporary Speaker, and I've known those families for some of them for the last 27 years. It is a difficult time. I understand their concern. I understand their distrust of the government in any type of reform. But I believe a reform is needed. As we've heard from the member of Clarence, a reform was started many, many years ago, and there were too many shares allocated that were not linked to catch, meaning those shares were basically worthless. To compensate, burdensome regulations have been put in place to make fishing inefficient. There are restrictions on what days you can fish, what kind of nets you can use, how big your boat can be, how many traps you can have, and many more regulations. The industry is struggling under the weight of those and needs change. Instead of ignoring this that's happened before, the government has set aside $16 million to help transition to share management and is committed to helping the active fishermen remain in the industry. I want to see these people remain in the industry, so I want to see their families support. If you would allow me to finish and show some courtesy. All right? Look, this is beyond politics. We're talking about people's lives here. And all we're doing is cheapening
Members of the opposition
the whole debate.
will allow the member to be heard in silence.
The ongoing commitment, I think, of this government, we are working through what I believe is some of the most complex issues. There's a lot of emotions there. The last thing I want to do is to see, and I share some of the concerns already raised. To be all honest, I've taken to the Minister a number of occasions over mud crab farmer that catches, fisherman that catches 5 tonne. He's only got one share at the moment that only allows him 750 kilos. So we are working through that face to face with him. I believe we will get to a positive outcome. It's not there at the moment. There's a lot of emotion there. These are people I know. They are my personal friends of my family. I see them down the path. I have a great deal of respect for them. So to stand here and say we've totally ignored them is a load of rubbish. It is a difficult time. I don't want to see these people harmed in any way, and we are currently working with the Minister, working with the department to achieve a proper outcome. I see my people. I go and see them. Now, Port Stephens, look, that's just rubbish. I see them and I talk to them virtually every day.
The member for Ballina is seeking leave. Is the grant leave? Member for Ballina.
Thank you. I rise to speak on behalf of the Greens, and I acknowledge the member for entrance for tabling this petition, and also the fishing families that are here today. I rise on behalf of the Greens and the commercial fishing industry of Ballina and support in principle the calls by the signatories of this petition to improve the fairness of the current commercial fishing reforms processes and the fisheries business structural adjustment arrangements. There is currently an upper house inquiry considering the commercial fishing industry in New South Wales and specifically the detail of these reforms, and my colleague, Justin Field, who is our spokesperson for Marine and Fisheries, is on that inquiry. Much of the concern raised in that inquiry to date, I note, is yet to report, is related to how shares were historically allocated and how they did or did not relate to historical catch data in a fair or equitable way. That has clearly had profound implications in proceeding with the reforms and have left many fishers in a position where they feel that they are being forced to buy back their jobs or that minimum shareholding requirement falls short of what would make for a viable fishing business. And I take the opportunity, Mr Acting Speaker, to speak on behalf of the Ballina Co-op I have concern for the future of commercial fishing sector on the North Coast and in my electorate. The Ballina Co-op made a submission to the inquiry and they are clear in their opposition to the reforms and what they see as a failure of consultation. They are clearly concerned about the viability of the co-op, and I'd like to just read a section of their submission from the Ballina Cooperative. From 2008, as a result of changes in the industry, including regulation, reviews, retirements, weather, decline in water quality in the Richmond River, bullying both by fishermen and fisheries personnel, the industry has changed. Our cooperative has attempted to meet the industry changes with a number of restructures, retirements and retrenchments. Today, our equity is $900,000 less than just prior to the commencement of industry restructure. Fishers have declined by over 1/3 and staff by 50%. Our local economy has been reduced as a consequence of this. So I'm not suggesting for a moment that government is responsible for all of that, but certainly the restructure and the current proposals on offer for the Ballina Co-op will mean that their commercial industry is not viable. The future of commercial fishing is about far more than the current reforms, and it is in all of our interest to have access to quality, healthy and affordable seafood. I thank the petitioners for raising this important issue in the House, and particularly to those who signed from my local community. And I think it's fair to say that from today that we need more time, and that is what this petition is calling for, is for more time so that this can be dealt with properly and in a bipartisan manner. Thank you.
Are you seeking leave?
I seek leave.
Is leave granted? Leave is granted. I call the member for Port Stephens.
Speaker, I rise to speak in support of this petition on the Commercial Fisheries Business Structural Adjustment Program. And I particularly rise to stand in support of the commercial fishers and their families who are here today and who they represent up and down the coast of New South Wales. And I also want to acknowledge the Wild Caught Fishers Coalition, particularly Mary Howard, and the work that they have been doing to advocate for the commercial fishers up and down the coast. I do want to acknowledge the Professional Fishers Association as well, because there are members here today from them, and they too have been advocating for their members. This has been a complete dog's breakfast. This reform is not a reform. What this reform is doing is forcing people out of the jobs that their families have held for generations. We are seeing people having to buy back their own jobs. They're actually having to take out loans to buy back their jobs. And in fact, there is somebody in the gallery today who's even sought a loan in August last year and it hasn't even appeared, doesn't even know where he stands on that. There's somebody that has had to pay for legal services to even try and understand the contract that was tabled so ably by my colleague and friend, member for Maitland. We are seeing a complete disruption of the industry to the extent that we will not be eating local seafood in this state any longer because of what this government is doing. So I've got some questions for the Minister. I want to know how the Minister is going to fix it, because the Minister has said he's going to fix it, and he's going to fix it for families and commercial fishers that can't buy back their jobs. I mean, we're talking about people that might be able to buy back their jobs, but there's circumstances when they might not even be able to buy them back. And the Minister has said he's going to fix it. What's he going to do? So the questions for the Minister that he needs to answer is, why are the fishers being forced to buy back their jobs? Why are they implementing a program which is seeing the large commercial operators able to continue doing their jobs and the small operators losing their jobs and not being able to work anymore? Why are the commercial fishers being forced into a less sustainable environmental program of fishing due to the way the endorsements are being carried out? This is an absolute abomination for all of the fishers that are trying to do their job. And this government, like with the greyhounds, is shutting down an industry. It is shutting down an industry, and you need to answer the fishers' questions. And what are you going to do? What is the Minister going to do to fix it?
The discussion on the 10,000 signature petition having concluded and community recognition statements not having concluded, the community recognition statements will now be resumed for 8 minutes only. I call the member for Mount Druitt.